In mid-November 2003, trade ministers and business leaders from 34 countries gathered in Miami, Florida, for the Free Trade Area of America's Ministerial. This gathering was the 8th in a series of 9 meetings to negotiate the FTAA, begun in this very city in 1994. The FTAA will create the world's largest market of 800 million consumers, totaling a combined GDP of $14 trillion. Farmers, trade unionists, environmentalists, social justice activists, and the working poor came to Miami to express their disfavor with global economic policies that favor corporate profits over local economic control. Activists prepared for months planning the safety of its participants in a nonviolent, peaceful protest. The police of Miami-Dade County also prepared for months to protect the lives and property of its city, also vying to secure the permanent location for the FTAA.
We've heard between 25 and 35,000 protesters will be coming down to Miami. Could be a little more, a little less. They represent a lot of different people, a lot of different causes from all over the world, actually. And they're against the FTAA. 98% of these folks have a cause that they believe in strongly and are going to express that cause peacefully. But there's that 2% that we're a little bit concerned about.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
These so-called anarchists have tried to destroy the city, quite literally destroy the city. Anytime there's a dangerous crowd control situation where people are getting injured or the potential for injury exists or property damage exists, we may have to clear an intersection or a street. We may have to take people into custody. We have tactics to do that. We've actually had role-playing where we've had cops dressed as anarchists throwing anything and everything they can at us and every scenario possible, and we've scientifically figured out different ways of defeating them. And it's worked. And we've also conferred with experts from all around the nation. People have already gone through this. Feel bad for Seattle. And so they were the first to have to deal with this sort of thing, and they clearly weren't prepared, but then who would have known that that would have happened? I think, in fact, if now Seattle were to have such a event, they'd be the most prepared police department in the whole world, because trial by fire is certainly a pretty potent weapon. This is happening in the city of Miami, but this is a South Florida event. We have over 40 different law enforcement agencies all working together on this. I've never seen such cooperation. We have city, state, county, federal, local. It's just been a tremendous collaborative effort for many, many months now to get prepared for this thing. And it's amazing how many people you can have in a room from all these disparate law enforcement agencies, and they get along great because we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to keep peace in South Florida, to make South Florida shine. I mean, it's a beautiful place to live, to work, to visit, and if it goes to hell, that's not good for any of us.
Hi, we're in front of the Intercontinental Hotel, where the delegation is going on for the FTAA. We have been successful in inviting the Tri-County area of police and fire to assist us here in the city of Miami to keep the peace and make it safe for all of our delegates and visitors here in the city of Miami. We have officers here from as far north as Tallahassee, Lake City, up in the Panhandle area, middle of the state area, Tampa. So we have a wide variety of officers and firefighters here.
I'm Major Brett Norton. I'm the regional commander for the FWC Division of Law Enforcement. We're state law enforcement officers, and we were asked to come down and assist. There's 4 sides to this venue, the 3 land side around the Intercontinental, and then obviously the water. And there's a lot of water here. If protesters want to express their free speech, that's okay. What we don't want is people putting themselves in a position where they're destructive or cause problems that are a threat to the dignitaries. We're also very concerned about homeland security and domestic security and the potential for whatever may come from the water side. And that's why we're here.
The authorities were very clear that they didn't want another Seattle-style FTAA shutdown. For weeks leading up to the demonstration, the press played up the fear of masked anarchists coming to wreak havoc on their town. A coalition of farm workers, low-income housing advocates, environmentalists, and immigrant rights groups had a massive police escort for their 3-day march into Miami to protest the FTAA.
On the 34 miles, we spent a lot of time passing out flyers to onlookers, passersby, to let them know why we were marching in Fort Lauderdale and Hallandale and Hollywood, and I can't even remember all the places that we marched through all the way to Miami, to let them know that why we're against the FTAA and what our concerns are and why we think free trade is dangerous to our communities and our environment and our jobs and all of the things, and our democracy, all of the things that we hold very near and dear to our hearts here in the United States and across the hemisphere.
And we are gathering up, getting ready to move for the 3rd day of a 3-day, 34-mile march. We are on the grounds of a church, which was very gracious in having us here. So we're gathering up, getting ready for the last leg. In about 2 hours or so, we're going to be actually hitting city of Miami limits. And by the end of the night tonight, by 5, 6 o'clock, we'll be downtown city of Miami at a gigantic fence that they put up just to keep us from participating in the meeting, in the FTAA meeting.
Oh, my name is Rosalie Wiley. I'm a member of LIFT, Low Income Families Fighting Together. Our organization in Power U and CIWS here, and our struggles is fighting against the FTAA.
Yesterday, it was amazing because there were people waving at us from the top of office buildings. Some of them came down to the march to greet us. We had youth all along the way that were seeing our flyers and grabbing them and reading them and jumped into the march for a little bit of the way. I think we have a lot of new allies and at least a lot of new open minds about what we're talking about. And as we were passing them out, there was great reception. People said, oh, that's what this is about. And it's not about all of the hype that the media has been putting out there about people coming and destroying Miami. It's about real communities standing up for what we need, our basic human rights. On the flyers essentially was just the basic information about what root cause is. This coalition of South Florida, low-income, communities of color, grassroots groups joining together in our opposition to free trade and corporate globalization, and why we're concerned that free trade affects our ability to find good jobs, that free trade affects our clean water and clean air, that free trade affects it steals land from people and forces people to immigrate, that free trade steals our public services, takes away our ability to access education and water and the most basic human rights that we need.
Well, everybody's actually doing really well. We've had, a couple blister issues, no major dehydration. We've been having a lot of volunteers that can go back and forth with water. So our most used products are foot salve and moleskin, and other than that, everybody's spirits are really high and we're having a lot of fun. So we're just doing what we can to keep people comfortable.
We hope to draw thousands of people out to look at us while we're walking down Biscayne Boulevard so that they can see that there are people who are actively opposing the FTAA, that this is not like the media is making out to be, where it's such a great thing for everybody and everybody loves it. And then by doing that, we hope to start debate and draw people into debate to discuss what the FTAA means to them, and ultimately bring some converts so they can see how dedicated we are to fighting the FTAA, and that they end up ultimately joining that fight.
This is a time for social movements from all across the hemispheres to get together to talk about why they're also impacted, how they've been impacted by free trade, what their fears are if free trade is expanded, and to figure out how we can work together to make sure that that doesn't happen and we can make a better world all together.
Music for us is a strong, a powerful voice. Some of us got in it because we were activists and wanted to voice our opinions through this music that has some sort of infinite power with people, not only mental, spiritually, emotionally. It gets to you in one way or another. So our music is speaking to that, speaking to the worker, speaking to the protester, speaking to the activist, zapatista, whatever it is, and letting them know that we're with them 100% and that what they're doing is correct, and that they should never try to minimize what they're doing or give up. So what we're doing is trying to give them hope, and with that, be a reflection where they bring us hope as well, and be a constant reflection in the mirror until we see this change that we want.
Señoras y señores, la revolución ocupa una celebración. ¡A bailar, a bailar! Put your fists up like this, come on! Come on, pump your fists up, come on! Come on, pump your fists up, come on! Come on, pump your fists up, come on! Come on, a bailar, a bailar! Let's go!
Thursday, November 20th, was to be a day of non-violent direct action in front of the huge barrier that surrounded the Intercontinental Hotel that housed the delegates and the ministerial. Whatever plans the activists had were quickly stifled by an army of riot police not taking any chances with high-energy activists thinking about civil disobedience.
Next, the Secretary General of the OAS, former President Cesar Gaviria.
Gracias.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador Selig
Canciller Morini
and Chancellor Marim, distinguished ministers of trade.
Como lo señalaba Enrique Iglesias,
as Enrique Iglesias stated, we, over the last years, since this process began, we have lived experiences, and not just different periods, because many countries have had to face enormous challenges, and in fact, we've had three large crises of capital volatility, and there have been times when the expectations of growth have been reduced dramatically. And to a certain degree, we could say that there has been a deterioration in what our democracies can offer their citizens. And I think sometimes we exaggerate the trend to say that problems that we have today are a result of the issues that were had in Cancun. And I think that quite the contrary. It has been very impressive that this process is being undertaken now despite all of the problems that have occurred over recent years.
So what I'd like to say is that economic growth will continue to be below the levels that we had in the three past decades before the economic crisis, and this is causing huge problems in terms of poverty and inequities. poverty and abject poverty in the region continues to be on the rise, and the poverty rate has grown from 43 to 44%, and extreme poverty from 18 to 19%, and in absolute terms this means that the population of poor is now 221 million, and the region has the highest indices of inequities, and the development of poverty and inequities is causing a deterioration in the labor front and in the labor markets. We see that these are the Achilles heel in our economies.
I was just by the fence. The cops just started shooting rubber bullets and I got one right in the leg from pretty close distance. So it hurts a lot and it doesn't look too pretty, but I'm gonna try and get some ice for it. And I guess take one for the
all that stupid gear! I don't see no riot here! Take off all that stupid gear! I don't see no riot here!
This historic commitment must be taken within this perspective and in view of the current situations in our countries. I would just like to leave a document in your hands, and I was thinking, after this what? I think it is important for us to remember that this is something than just a mere treaty. This will involve huge internal reforms in the economies to adjust to open economies, and this means that we will have to look at the macroeconomic front, the microeconomic, and the social front. I won't go into details, but the macroeconomic approach means that once again we will have to rethink our economies so that we can chart our ways through smooth waters in this process. We have to have stability, we have to have growth, we have to have stability in the real exchange rates and fiscal policies, and I'm sure that you have seen this in your countries. And this will come through very significant steps which will mean changes structurally in our economic sectors. Of course, we will have winners and losers as in all processes of this type, and it is important for us, for the state, to ensure that it takes on its responsibilities, that it can compensate and rehabilitate the losers and rehabilitate them so that they can become winners in terms of education and their place in the productive sector.
As far as I'm concerned, that is not legal for you not to tell us whether or not we are detained, under arrest, whether we have the right to leave, whether this is an investigation. And there are cameras right now videotaping this. If somebody decides to leave and you arrest somebody and you did not tell us whether we were detained or whether we were under arrest, I'm making that clear. So if I decide to leave right now and you arrest me, it's on film. Okay, thank you.
Is there any way you can at least try to get that information? I mean, some people are starting to have to go to the bathroom and things like that.
Sir, Lieutenant, I asked one of your officers a question why we stopped here, and he said, back away, back away. So I backed away and I had my hand in my pocket. He said, take your hand out of your pocket. And he pulled out his taser. And I'm like, it's not violent. I mean, is that right? Well, he's got all the guns. I'm just standing here with the sign.
You know, it's a deterrent type thing. You know, obviously.
Is he afraid of me?
No, he's not afraid of you. He knows from past experience and from our intelligence that there are some people we should be afraid of. I don't think personally he's afraid of you. You can be pushed to a point and you won't be gentle, right? So I guess he can too. But at this point, the last thing we want is confrontation. So I guess that's his way of saying, hey, please do what I say and there won't be any problem. But we've been preparing for this for a long time. The last thing we want is to start a problem. It's actually a very small group, very peaceful group. I'm glad to see you.
Surprised, aren't you?
Yeah, I am happily surprised. And if it goes on like this, then I think we'll have a pretty good day.
My name is Mike Snyder. We were leaving a small action that had been kind of corralled on 2nd and 3rd. The cops held everybody there for a long time, and as they let everybody go, some people were trying to cross the street.
Why can't we go back to our houses these ways?
For some reason, the police freaked out. They were arresting people. They had 2 people tied down, at least that I saw. They were tasing another girl, and I was filming this. And they were kind of pushing everybody back.
Oh my God!
And then I got pepper sprayed right in my eye. It was very unpleasant. It was a lot of pain. I think the canister was about a foot away from my face. I could actually see it come into my eye. I feel a lot better now. The medics took good care of me.
They say he's a hands-on leader out here. You can judge for yourself after looking at this videotape.
Hey, this way. Get on the sidewalk. Get on the sidewalk. Let's go. This way. Move. Move. Either you move, we're gonna lock you up. Either you move, we're gonna lock you up.
This way. Hey.
I'm telling you, on the sidewalk, walk over, or you're gonna get arrested.
Listen.
It's your last warning.
Peaceful.
You got your last warning. Don't be foolish. Go on the sidewalk and go home. Over here. Hold it up. Hey, you hear me?
Legal! Legal! Legal!
Hey, stop. Just stop. Just stop. I will talk to you. Now we got a report. Relax, guys. Relax. 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 We got a report of him loading up with rocks and a variety of other things.
Slow it down! Hold the line! Hold the line!
We are the union. Mighty, mighty union. 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 Mighty.
Have arrived. Protect your democracy. This is not what our founding fathers would have desired.
My name is Fiddle, and essentially anarchy, by the strict definition, is a political theory holding all forms of governmental authority to be unnecessary and advocating a society based upon the free association and voluntary cooperation of individuals or groups. That is what anarchy is. It's about cooperation, voluntary cooperation. We are out to end the control. The control is from the top, those individuals at the FTAA, the corporate criminals who are trying to control our lives constantly. It's also about the police who protect these corporate criminals for dispossessing people and putting them into poverty and not getting them enough well-paying jobs to the point where they can't pay their rent. It's about freeing people to where they can operate autonomously with essentially an egalitarian community. And if you're wondering about the mask, this is a tactic. This is not anarchy. This is a tactic we use to protect our identities because in recent years, and even within the past 50 years, activists have been targeted by the community. I mean, look at the events today, people being gassed by the police, by the state. These repressive organizations must be shut down. Control, governmental control in general, must be shut down. It must be operated by the people.
We say no way! They say FTAA! We say no way! They say FTAA! We say no way! They say FTAA! We say no way!
Well, the first thing is that labor and the direct action activists came up with an agreement that we would respect the labor march, the people's march, that we would not be doing any kind of activity that would endanger anybody. This morning at 7 o'clock, direct actionists basically attempted to go up to the fence, but police, I mean, the amount of police is just ridiculous. The amount of resources to just basically intimidate and block process of any sort, not even agreements that we had set up with the police, has been like unbelievable. This is not what democracy looks like, basically. We've been at every step kind of blocked. Even labor who had a permitted march, even labor that had a whole set of activities that were completely legal, were completely inhibited by the police as well. I mean, we had like retirees, 80 years old, being blocked from the police. So right now it's just been dealing with a kind of amount of police and repression, and this is what the military state looks like. 140 labor buses were not allowed into this area by the police. So that means like 5,000 members were not allowed to be in here. Labor came strong. I mean, they were, the steel workers came in like sheer numbers. They were amazing. SCIU was here, AFSCME was here. I mean, pretty much every, CWA, the retirees, and I think in general the labor presence was very strong and very, very well organized. Like I said, if 140 buses cannot get to where they need to be, this is not a democracy. This is not what the cops should be doing, which is inhibiting our right to express our discontent for the FTAA and the unilateral sometimes decisions that they make in there without really the people's voice being included. So I mean, I think in general the fact that direct actionists and people from all types of affinity groups joining labor, it's a pretty strong thing to them. I mean, we had retirees that were like 80 years old today with young anarchists, young women and men from all over the country and the continent marching together. That's pretty powerful.
I'm Marion Swanson. I'm from Coral Springs, Florida. I'm a retired wife of a UAW worker, and I'm sick of this corporate greed, and I'm sick of the king in charge. If you were only here to hear the spirit, you'd love it, and you'd join in and vote for success of the unions and the people that are going to rule 2004.
There's really three areas which we're most concerned about in the FTAA. One is agriculture, like farm prices on farm products. One is investment, and one is intellectual properties, which is related to access to medicines for communities who can't afford the high price of patented medicines. But we think it's significant that developing countries of different size, different economic makeup, and different geographic regions were able to come together in a political bloc. We think that's an important step.
Attention. As long as the demonstration is peaceful, you will be allowed to demonstrate. If there is violence, the demonstration will end immediately. As long as your demonstration is peaceful, you will be allowed to demonstrate.
They're aiming their pepper balls. Right there. That could have been my eye. Just as easy as the side of my fucking nose.
My name is Lauren Bidding-Ellis from St. Augustine, Florida. Came down here with the Green Party of St. Johns County. Came down for peaceful protesting, which means we will not be aggressive in any means. However, Miami police don't seem to appreciate that. We were peacefully protesting this morning. We peacefully walked down the street. Puppets were almost confiscated. We were able to use them then. And we were standing there dancing. Everything seemed happy and fine. And then they decided to bum rush the crowd, started beating people, started macing, started tear gassing. There was citrus crap in the air that made you choke, and Aubrey here got maced. Press was being maced. So Miami really doesn't care about peaceful protesters, apparently.
And what are you here for?
I'm here because these people are trying to take over the world, basically. It's just ridiculous. Workers' rights, environmental rights, nothing means anything right now. It doesn't matter how peaceful you are, the farmers group, doesn't matter who you are down there. There were grandmothers standing with us. But I'm here because it's disgusting. Corporate greed is taking over, and it's not right. I'm being heard, but they're definitely trying to silence it real quick. The Hyatt, where they all are, where the conference is going on, is closed off. So if you're staying there, you gotta have checkpoint Charlie left, right to get in. You're stopped at least 3 times. If I were dressed in normal clothes, I wouldn't be allowed to get in because I don't have reservations there. So what's that telling you right there? It's a police state in downtown Miami. There is no one here. It's absolutely frightening.
What happened? Oh, I just got hit in the leg with one of those big paint things. And then I got drilled a little bit in the chest with rubber bullets.
Are you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Were you retreating when they hit you?
Yeah, I was backing up actually, shooting probably about 10 to 20 yards away. And I got hit, and then I got hit again when I came around the corner and I was retreating, shooting.
Where'd you get hit?
I got hit in the leg, or down in the foot, and then I got hit in the chest. But,
was it something like that?
I got hit with one of these, and then I also got hit with the smaller, the harder.
Did you get hit?
Yeah, I got this in the leg.
Are you okay?
Well, yeah, I'm fine. I'm walking. It doesn't seem right to be shot with one of these for standing, taking photographs on a public thoroughfare.
I'm very delighted to be here with my trade minister colleagues. As you could see, we got our work done a few hours early. We were supposed to meet yesterday morning as well, but we worked through the day. And at least for me, I think it's because we learned some lessons. The Cancun WTO meeting ended a little bit early too, but not in as happy circumstances. And I think the reason that we were able to move quickly today was that there was a lot of work and time put in advance to prepare for this, because in my view, we're moving the FTAA, the ALCA, into a new phase. We're moving from general concepts and people talking past one another to positive realities and opportunities. We're moving into a relentlessly practical stage to be on track, and we're at a point where we're negotiating an ALCA, not just seeking it.
I just would like to say that I'm leaving Miami very satisfied with the results that we have reached. This is a result, to use a word in English, it's enabling. It allows us to be enabled. It gives us the conditions that we need to continue to press forward in a process in which we are most sure will be successful next year. We've had some good chemistry here. And I think some journalists actually thought that didn't exist between the co-chairs, but I think we've been able to show with results that good chemistry.
Police Chief John Timoney, we've been giving him a lot of coverage here the last couple of weeks leading up to this event here in Miami, had talked about the preparations, had talked about the training that his people had undergone, had talked about how ready the Miami Police Department was to handle this situation, to keep a lid on this situation, and not to be baited, if you will, by the thugs who might attend. The police chief was quoted a couple of times as saying, "If we have to deploy tear gas, we have failed."
My name's Tony Shawcross. I'm in Miami, FTA with Free Speech TV. So here's what happened to me yesterday, Thursday, November 20th, while covering the first day of the ministerial meetings of the FTAA in Miami. The police were corralling the protesters, making them retreat down a very specific route in a very specific direction, moving them away from downtown not towards any of the wealthier areas of town, not towards any of the areas where press would have easy access to, but moving in a northwest direction towards a part of town known as Overtown. Once they got into Overtown, that's the first time where every turn wasn't guided by the police. It was the first time where the protesters had free range and they could choose. The protesters then started spreading out. The sun was starting to go down, and as they'd get into smaller groups of 5 or 6, the police would then arrest them. I would go around filming from group to group as they'd get arrested. I filmed several examples of police brutality, serious excessive force. I got to a final point where the police had arrested 4 protesters when I got there. As other protesters would walk back in groups of 2 or 3, just walking back to where they were going, the police would detain them and bring them over to that side of the street and arrest them, just as they were walking down the street. I was filming it the whole time and got told by the police on several occasions that I needed to stop filming there, even though I was standing with just general public. I said to him what I've been saying all day, which is, I'm a member of the media, I'm a member of the press, I have the right to be where any of the general public is, none of whom was he bothering around me. I showed him my press credentials. He grabbed them, tried to yank them off of my neck, pulling my neck forward with a strong lanyard. And I turned the camera up to his face to film him as he was doing this because I was rolling the whole time. He grabbed my camera and tried to throw it to the ground. I turn around, I start walking away. I get less than a block away and I feel a 9mm gun from behind push me in the eye, start pushing me backwards, pushing me down. Told me to drop my camera, take off my camera case, lay down on my stomach, empty my pockets. I start getting down, dropping all of my gear, start getting down on the ground, and there were a million police around. And one drove by at that time with his lights and siren going. It startled the guy who had his gun on me, and I was just getting down onto the ground. It startled him. He looked up, started grabbing the stuff I had already dropped, and I started running into the street where the police officer was driving by. The police car didn't even see me, drove straight by within inches of my body, drove straight past. I ran after him for a block. It ended up being a police officer from a school district, from Dade County Schools. He was totally unable to help me. Everything that I shot that day was in that case or in my pockets and was all robbed by the gentleman who robbed me. Well, the one police officer too, they wouldn't give me a ride anywhere, they wouldn't take me anywhere, they just left me there where I had just been robbed at gunpoint. Just to walk 10 blocks away through this neighborhood where I had just been robbed at gunpoint. And there was no one there who was willing to give me a ride home or give me a ride to the police station or give me a ride to anywhere safe. They just weren't interested. The police that were involved in the protests were not interested in helping in any way.
All right, I'm Brandon Jordan. I came here with the Independent Media Center to help cover the FTAA protests in Miami, Florida. On November 20th, after a day of heavy police repression and aggression towards protesters, at the end of the AFL-CIO rally, police violence started occurring. People were hit with tear gas, rubber bullets, and hit with tasers, and basically pushed out of the downtown area into Overtown, which is on 1st Ave near downtown Miami. Myself, I decided that I would leave the protests for the end because it looked like there were going to be mass arrests and I wanted to get my footage out. So I ventured back down 1st Avenue and decided that I would find my car and basically leave and find a safe space for my tapes. I walked under an overpass and I saw several homeless people, one of which we'd actually paid to basically look over my car for the period of time that we were parked there. I saw him and I saw 2 new individuals there. Both were clean-shaven men, Hispanic, who were about around my height, but they looked slightly out of place because they were very clean-cut and they had basically jerseys on, and they had stun guns, which was kind of unusual just to see people in the street with stun guns. And basically they told me to get out of Miami, or just to be more blunt about it, to get the fuck out of Miami now. When I saw them, I basically tried to ignore them and tried to keep walking. Around that time, I was then confronted by two other males, one of which came up and I was actually punched in the right cheek by one of them and asked for my wallet. About this time, I said back to them, I only have $15, but I'll be glad to give you my wallet. So I gave them my wallet and was getting ready to leave, and then the two guys with the stun guns were walking fast toward me, and they noticed I had a camera bag with me. And about that time, they started using their stun guns, activating them and telling me, to give them my camera bag, and I told them I couldn't, and then they took it with force.
Yesterday, I seen a gentleman get robbed right here on First Avenue and 13th Street.
Thank you, Jesus.
He was a photographer. He was filming, and he was going back to his car. I was watching his car. When he got back that evening to straighten me, to pay me, two guys came up with a zap gun, short by my height. Looked like they had a nice clean cut and everything, and they demanded he give up his film gear. He took the film gear off. He took his film gear off. He got hit on a couple of times by some other guys, and they robbed him point blank. They were finna take his car because he told them to drop the keys, but they didn't take his car. He was able to get in his car and drive away. It could have been more serious than it was.
It really seems, that it was strategic to, at least for one thing, to get them out of the downtown area, because this is where there were businesses, and this was close to the area where the actual talks were going on, the FTAA summit. It may have also been strategic to push them into the poor areas, basically there, because a lot of the press had been talking a great deal about the protesters and how violent and how they were disrupting things within the city. So it could have been strategic to basically make them look like enemies of the people there. And afterwards we've heard loads of reports, and we've gotten lots of interviews with the Independent Media Center, and also I've also learned that other videographers got interviews with people within the neighborhoods saying that they were encouraged by the police to rob protesters and to get things like video cameras. And it seems, possible now that this did happen. We've received at least 5 reports of this.
They told us it was legalized to rob the white people.
They said that to you. It was legal for you.
Rob them. Man said, look on the cameras.
Yeah.
I said, if I take their camera, what they gonna do then? They ain't got nothing. They didn't want y'all to fuck around. And they didn't like y'all. They didn't like the people that were protesting.
Right.
They was against the protesters. Because they said they wasn't going to have that shit down here in Miami. They wasn't going to have it down here in Miami. Understand me? So they say, since they acting like that there, they putting themselves in the low class white trash category. We're going to treat them like white trash. Y'all do what y'all want to do.
Yeah, I live in this neighborhood, and I was in downtown. I live close to downtown, and we've seen it all. We've seen how these people were just straight getting pepper sprayed, getting hit with rubber bullets. That's wrong as hell. Hell yeah, that's wrong. That's very wrong. Look at that. They're forming that show for nothing. You see, now I notice that the cops don't want starting it. They ain't protesting. They were just chilling there, having fun, and the cops want to come and interrupt shit. That's fucked up. It's ridiculous.
There's also been an anonymous police source who said that prior to the protest, this was a strategy. But considering that throughout the week that we have seen, we have documentation of police infiltrating the Black Bloc, evidence of police provocation during crowds, that with all these other illegal tactics that police have used, that this may be very possible. Also realizing that this is something that is ongoing in Miami with police violence against poor people in predominantly Black and Hispanic communities, and that there is a great deal of police corruption. And this has been very evident this week during the protests. The general attitude towards protesters was somewhat split. The opinion was split. We did encounter people within Overtown. There was a community garden set up there, and a lot of people were very appreciative of that. There was another videographer, Justin Lipson, who was actually arrested with 2 felonies for shooting video, which upon release he said he did an interview with an individual near a basketball court who said that he had been instructed, that people in the community had been instructed to rob protesters, and that he wasn't going to do it. The protesters were generally very nice to the people within the community. There were people that when we got pushed through that community who were angry that were there, and I think a lot of that anger was not so much at us, but at the fact that there were such a large amount of riot police entering their neighborhoods. The police presence, upon arriving in Miami, we saw officers everywhere, police cars everywhere. There's been a general atmosphere of fear within Miami amongst protesters and amongst the local population. Helicopters have been hovering around the city. There have been lots of SUVs with tinted windows driving around. We've seen what look like armed personnel carriers in the downtown area. We've seen riot police around every corner. We've seen bike police patrolling the city. Any journalist has the responsibility to get the news out as he sees it, and to also be able to, when you do hear reports that there may have been that there were police provocateurs in the crowd, to follow up on that and see what type of provocation the police did. If there are reports that police were encouraging people to rob reporters and protesters, you need to follow that up. You need to get that information, and then it is our responsibility as journalists to get this out to the public. That, you know, if there is a media blackout, if in the mainstream media on a national scale, what you're hearing report of is Michael Jackson and what he's doing in his personal life, and that this is ridiculous. That the real news is right now that the FTAA is going to extend NAFTA to all the southern hemisphere, and that NAFTA completely destroyed economically Mexico, United States, and Canada. The working people in here were affected in a very serious manner. You're talking 15 to 25% commodity prices on small farms dropping. You're talking massive job loss. You're talking devaluation of the peso in Mexico. And this is the real issue. This is what people need to report, that people are out here protesting against these issues because they feel passionate about it, that they were brutalized, that their freedom of speech was not allowed in a country that still calls itself a democracy. These things we can't allow this. We have to get the information out there. And regardless of whatever repression police are going to try to use against demonstrators or journalists, it is still our duty to get the information out there.
My name is Deborah Dion. I'm with the National AFL-CIO. I've been working on this FTAA ministerial events in coalition with all of these folks up here for the past 3.5 months on the ground. The police department told us that told Bayfront that they needed 50 people to do that, along with our trained 1,000 peacekeepers that we trained over the past several months. And then the next morning I wake up and there's like thousands of riot gear police here. I mean, it's just outrageous. We are definitely in negotiations with our national leaders about that. I mean, I can tell you, John Sweeney talked to the Miami Police Department yesterday and said it was the most disgusting, disgraceful thing that he has ever seen in his life. This was a military operation, you know? Our march and rally was really a military operation. And if that's what's headed down the future, then you know, working people and people that want to voice their opinions are going to have a real problem in this country.
The FTAA ministerial, which closed business a day early with a watered-down agreement in hand, went completely unreported by the mainstream press. Instead, the most important news was not that 800 million people were being affected by a hemispheric trade policy, but that Michael Jackson was being arrested, coinciding with the release of a new album.
First and foremost, I would like to give thanks to all the liberationists and those who fought for freedom. To all of the musicians who will not sell out. To the underground MCs from LA. A mis compañeros en la selva. Tiempo. The Black Guerrilla Movement. Tiempo. 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 All in all, it will depend on how long it takes in a day for much of the clicking to stop. Then look over his shoulder, then shoulder, then shoulder, then shoulder, then shoulder, then shoulder, then shoulder. See how many people are following, going in circles by seconds, minutes, and hours. Yeah, we can.
You say we can't take pictures in a public place.
Yeah. Tiempo a descansar la luz, a empezar el día.
Cuando se mete el sol y descansa la luz va a empezar otra vez. Al descansar la luz, al empezar el día. Cuando se mete el sol y descansa la luz va a empezar otra vez. Tiempo